John Wick Chapter 4 is a 3-hour John Wick film that we didn't deserve, we didn't know we needed, but it's what we got. I love a good action movie. Action franchises like the Bourne trilogy or Mission Impossible. They're some of my favorite movies of all time, and John Wick Chapter 4 has solidified this franchise as one of the greats. It may even be better than them. This is as close to a perfect action movie as I've seen in a long time. John Wick is back, and he's traveling all around the world while he's trying to regain his freedom. This whole journey that we go on for 3 hours almost is non-stop action. Every 4 minutes it's something completely new and original. One of my biggest criticisms of the last two films was that the hand-to-hand combat was becoming monotonous, and the way the sequences unfolded was like a copy and paste from previous films. That is not the case with John Wick Chapter 4. Not for 1 minute did the movie lose my attention. Every sequence is original. It feels different than the last. It feels different than any other film that came before it. They took the gunplay that's been the best part of all the John Wick movies and leveled it up for this film, which is exactly what it needed. Some of the sequences are just mind-blowing, the stunts are insane, and I know there's visual effects, but I thought they used them in a really clever way, and it still felt very realistic, and a lot of the stuff you could tell was actual stuntmen doing it. There are some action sequences in this film that I still can't get out of my head. There's one sequence in particular where the camera's on a top-down above Keanu Reeves, kind of tracking him as he goes through this house and fights a million enemies and kills thousands of people. It was like a video game. I mean, this whole movie's kind of like a video game in some ways, but this part was like the Dead Ops arcade in Black Ops, if you've ever played that. Guys are coming at John Wick from all angles, and you watch him clear out rooms and use all his tactics from a top-down view. It was just a really cool way to see that, and he has this gun. I don't know enough about guns to know what this was, but every time he shoots someone, it catches them on fire. The whole thing's like eye candy. I could go on and on about the action sequences all day, because it's the best thing about this movie. I know it's the best thing about all John Wick movies, but this 3-hour John Wick film had some of the best in the franchise. They were super clever and super original. I couldn't get enough of them. I was sad when the movie was over. But I have to move on. Let's talk about the story. This franchise still feels the need to build out this criminal underworld element that really doesn't do anything for me. I actually think it detracts from some of the best parts of the movie, and it made for some of the slowest parts of this film. That's one of the reasons why the first John Wick was my favorite in the franchise until now, because it was about a dude who's mad that his dog died, and that's it. That's his whole motivation. It's super clear. He's more human in that film. So if you're like me and you get annoyed of that world building and you wish it was more simple, you're not gonna find that here. They build out that whole criminal underworld even more, but every 5 minutes your adrenaline's pumping, your testosterone levels are rising, and you forget that the movie's getting slowed down by that stuff, so it really didn't matter to me. Yeah, I'm thinking I'm back. Keanu Reeves is Keanu Reeves in this movie. He's the only guy in Hollywood right now that can get away with this performance, other than maybe Nick Cage. I mean, we've seen what that guy can do, and it's awesome, but everyone loves Keanu Reeves. He does a great job in this film. It's just weird. It's almost like a parody of himself or of action movies in a way, but it works in a serious way somehow. I don't know how to explain it, but it's no different than the other movies, and he does a great job. His weapon handling is just literally insane. And Bill Skarsgård, who's intimidating just because of his eyes, the eyeballs of the clown from It. He's very menacing and evil in this film. It did get a little repetitive. Every time he's on screen, he just walks off at some point, but there's little cheese like that all over the John Wick franchise. I mean, look at the fact that John Wick likes to fall out of buildings and just get back up afterwards, so we kind of have to suspend disbelief a little bit. But the real standout here was Donnie Yen. He's this blind assassin that uses clever technology and tricks to kill people very effectively. There's this one part where he sticks these little doorbell sensors on the walls, and when someone walks past they ring, and he just starts laying lead towards that area. He's one of the biggest reasons why the close quarters combat and action sequences felt different in this film, because he did things so differently, but it still had that sort of John Wick way to it. He was by far my favorite part of the film. He had so much character to him. There was more complexity to him than other characters in the franchise. He just did a fantastic job as Kane. This is Donnie Yen's second time playing a blind guy. The first time was in Rogue One, and I did have to look up that fact, but I'd rather act like I already knew that. John Wick Chapter 4 is a sequel that does almost everything better than its predecessors, and with a longer runtime was somehow even more engaging than its predecessors. To me, that's a perfect sequel. The director stuntman Chad Stahelski continues to do amazing things with these films. He shows us that with stuntmen and well choreographed close quarters combat, you can make some of the greatest action films of all time, and you don't have to overuse visual effects. It's awesome. John Wick Chapter 4 to me is a movie I cannot wait to own on Blu-ray and watch again. It is one of the best action movies maybe of all time. I'm curious to see how it ages in all of our minds, but me sitting here here right now, having just come out of the theater, I think it's one of the best action movies of all time. The only negatives I can even pull out of my brain, and this is very nitpicky, is that there were certain characters and certain pieces of the film that I didn't think needed to happen. It could have shortened the runtime a little bit and probably would have made the movie a little bit better. And this movie does take the ridiculousness to new heights. You have to suspend your disbelief more often. There's no cops to be seen. The criminal underworld is even bigger than ever. And John Wick is pretty much invincible to fall damage. But with that said, the film courageously embraces its goofiness. It's so self-serious that it actually avoids the campiness somehow. It kind of comes back to what I talked about with Keanu Reeves. He avoids campiness by being campy. It's hard to explain. It's almost like a parody of himself, but it comes off as serious because the movie's committing so much to it, but not in a bad way. That's the best way I can explain it. But other than those little things, I was completely blown away with John Wick. I never got to see the Bourne movies in theaters, and I missed a lot of the Mission Impossibles in theaters. But the fact that I got to see John Wick Chapter 4 in the theater was a pleasure. It's definitely worth going to the theater to see it. I wish I would have seen it in Cinemark XD. And with that, I'm going to give John Wick Chapter 4 an A+. Thank you guys as always for watching. Let me know in the comments, what did you think of John Wick Chapter 4 compared to the other films, and what's your favorite action movie franchise of all time? Let me know. Thanks for watching. See ya.